For years, I've been warning of the consequences of investing in real estate in what I call legacy brand countries. Everything from rising taxes, increasing regulations that go against landlords, even restrictions that you can't rent your place out on Airbnb. Now it seems that the mainstream media is finally agreeing with me. I'm going to share an article that says when you buy real estate, you really need to pay attention to the government you're buying under. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. Here at Nomad Capitalist, our team all around the world, our network of global experts, and yours truly help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. More at nomadcapitalist.com. Here's an article I found from Mansion Global. It's owned by the same people who own the Wall Street Journal, News Corp. And the headline from Mansion Global says, when choosing a location in which to invest, pay close attention to local issues. From tax changes to rental rules to infrastructure plans, what's happening nearby is of utmost importance. We've been talking about this for a long time. Where you buy matters. And the article starts, think globally, but buy real estate locally. Of course, we recommend thinking globally. Lots of great opportunities around the world. Although the economy of a country as a whole is a factor to consider, it sure is. When researching real estate, it's just one of the considerations that super prime investors should take into account. They should also be examining local issues like taxation and long-term infrastructure planning as they mold the decision to invest in luxury real estate, or I would say any kind of real estate at all. Certainly, how the economies do is meaningful, but I think local issues are critical when you're thinking about what you're trying to do, says Chris Pegg, Senior Director of Wealth Planning for Wells Fargo Private Bank. There's so many different facets of buying real estate. First and foremost, of course, is the current property tax law. Taxes have traditionally been a very stable kind of tax, Mr. Pegg noted, but that's not the case now, either in the U.S. or internationally. And that is certainly true. We're going to talk about the COVID piece in a moment. But remember when Greece raised their property taxes by something like 700% overnight a couple years ago? You couldn't give property away. People who were standing to inherit property were literally refusing to take it because they didn't want the property taxes, because there was no restriction on what the property taxes could be. The article continues, though. Countries all over the world are facing budget deficits caused by loss of revenue and added costs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Many are looking at additional taxes on the wealthy to bridge those gaps. The tax landscape is going to change, according to Kate Everett Allen, head of international residential research at the London-based real estate agency, Knight Frank. It's already changing quite radically, and we expect it to change even more. From new or increased taxes on non-resident buyers to wealth taxes under consideration, affluent buyers need to be in the know about potential new levies in the pipeline. The long-term health of a neighborhood or development are also important to consider. That includes local infrastructure projects that will add to or distract from the city or the neighborhood, the existence of future amenities such as public transport, medical centers, the financial history of the building or the community. And the article goes on, talks a lot more about changing tax policies, etc. This is very important, and I'll tell you what I pick out from this article that is really important. You know, there are some types of countries that believe that people will come there no matter what, and they will invest no matter what. The U.S. and many other legacy brand countries figure, hey, we'll toss on an extra tax, we'll have a transaction tax, whatever it is, people will still come and buy. And in some cases, they're correct. You look at a place like Singapore, you look at places like Belgium, I mean, these countries have high transfer taxes that in many cases target non-residents. I remember looking at property in Barcelona many, many, many years ago before I formally swore off owning property in failed countries like Spain. But you know what turned me off? The huge transfer tax I would have had to pay, just money flushed down the toilet, never to be seen again, to go to an inefficient government that figured, hey, we have a name brand, people will invest here anyway. And what I've learned over years of traveling and living all around the world, going to over 100 countries, is you have countries that have a lot of what Spain has to offer. You have the beaches, you have the architecture, you have the history. Maybe it's a little bit different, but you can get a lot of what you're looking for from a legacy brand country in the other kind of country, which is places where they say, well, holy cow, you know, people are going to be more cautious investors now. There are wealthy people with money to invest. They've been sitting on the sidelines. Let's open up to them. Let's give them a residence permit if they buy property here. Now, Spain does that, in all fairness. They have a golden visa program, not a particularly competitive one, but they do. Greece does as well, even though their property taxes are ridiculous in many cases. But there are countries that say, let's just make it easy for these investors because that's how our country is going to grow. When it talks about infrastructure, I see more effort being put into infrastructure in countries like Malaysia, where they've put a goal by 2030 to be at the level of most EU countries. They already are more sophisticated in terms of infrastructure than some EU countries. But a Malaysia that puts in the effort that says, you know what? Yeah, other countries are talking about a wealth tax right now. We're not interested. Why? That would make us uncompetitive. There's a lot of money coming from places like China. Malaysia, just as one example, wants to get their share of it. Why would they want to push wealthy people away? It's two different schools of thought. This is why I've said the culture and the government where you buy. Now, the article points out very well, not just at the national level, not just the national taxation and policy level, but also at the local level, it has consequences. Look at all the cities in Europe that individually went through and banned Airbnb. And so there were people who bought properties thinking that they were going to rent them out as vacation rentals because there's not really much yield in a long-term rental, and now they're stuck back with long-term rentals. Forget the pandemic and the restrictions on travel. But even before that, we talked about places like Berlin and Barcelona and so many places. Now, you can argue whether Airbnb restrictions are good for the city, good for other residents, but what I'm here is talking to investors. If I'm investing, I want a return. And what I don't want to go is to a place where the government is just going to change on a dime to meet some kind of political campaign promise and make my investment far less valuable. I looked at all these people who own all these Airbnb properties. How are they going to sell all these when a glut of them hits the market? When people realize their yields have hit the floor, who's going to buy them? What's going to happen to prices? I'm not very bullish in that. Meanwhile, you look at a country like Georgia, where the government's been pretty pro-Airbnb, quite frankly, and you've seen growing infrastructure for vacation rentals to flourish, including positive tax policies on vacation rentals. And so I would rather go and invest in a place where, number one, I can get more for my money. I can buy in a more core location for a lower price per meter. I have a lot more potential upside in a market that has a relatively low floor and it's already not too close to that. Whereas a market where when the glut comes onto the market, you see prices drop significantly. You look at a lot of emerging and frontier markets, you have prices that historically have really been unshaken even by recessions over the last 10, 20, 30 years. In the end, you also see the governments that say, you know what? We want to become a wealthy country. We want to encourage money to come here. Whether we're going to encourage it with low taxes, free residence permits, free citizenship, as they're doing in Turkey for real estate buyers, they are encouraging people to come. To me, it's a cultural thing. And the cities that think, hey, we can afford to do whatever we want, that's fine. And if that works for their city, they should make that consideration. But you as an investor should make the consideration that there are consequences to where you invest. And I think for so long, people in the Western world have figured, I'm just going to invest in the US. What can possibly go wrong? Higher taxes, higher property taxes, one-time levies. Yes, indeed, possible wealth tax even on the wealth of non-residents, right? In Greece, for example, if you go and buy a property and you don't live there, you've got to go through a process of appointing someone to handle your taxes for you in Greece. It's a real schlep, whereas you can go to so many other countries and not have the schlep. And I think that understanding that there are lots of countries that just think, you know what, we're Louis Vuitton, we're Loro Piana, we're Gucci. If they'll pay $400 for a scarf, they'll pay $500. Nothing wrong with that as a business philosophy whatsoever. But understand you're not getting an extra $100 of value when you buy the $500 scarf that used to be $400. They just figure, hey, we can raise the prices. And I think that's a cultural issue with countries that decide, raise the property tax. These idiots won't care. They love Barcelona. And that's fine. And maybe people who love Barcelona will keep paying high prices and keep suffering with more and more regulations. But as an investor who simply wants to go where I'm treated best, I want to avoid places like that. And I want to look at the values and the culture and the governance of the country, of the city where I'm buying and think, what's going to happen in 5 years? What's going to happen in 10 years here? What if the worst happens? What if a pandemic happens and their coffers are depleted? Who are they going to turn to for money? Are they going to turn on everyone who's invested in their country? Or are they going to open up and say, let's make it easier for more people to invest and let's grow that way? That's the question that you have to ask. And unfortunately, a lot of countries in the West that are viewed as successful, their thing is turn on the people with the money. It's not try and bring in more money. It's not make our position more attractive. You can complain about Turkey all you want, and people here have some very interesting opinions on Turkey. But you know what? When Turkey had a glut of residential real estate and developers were complaining, they said, all right, you know what? If someone buys this real estate, we'll give them citizenship. At least they're doing something to reward people for investing in their country. And it brought back a lot of people from the Arab world who had stopped investing in Turkey because they were getting a little concerned. So they did something to solve the problem. They did something positive rather than going and lashing out at everybody. They had a positive solution. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of Western countries or cities are going to do that. And I'm glad to see Mansion Global bringing you to the point that where you invest is going to have consequences. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.